So to the third album by Stone the Crows, Teenage Licks. A little bit look at the history. They were formed in 1968 after Maggie Bell was introduced to Les Harvey by our elder brother Alex Harvey, a musician in his own right. And after playing together at in the Kinning Park Ramblers, their next band, Spower, was renamed Stone the Crows after an exclamation of surprise by Led Zeppelin's manager Peter Grant. So that's how they got their name. And they were co-managed by Grant and Mark London. And that was how the band evolved. Of course, this album was the last album before the tragic death of guitarist Les Harvey on stage when they were tuning up for a gig, and I believe it was in Swansea's Top Rank Suite. He died of an electric shock, and that, to all intents and purposes, brought about the end of the band. But this album, Teenage Licks, as I say, their third offering, and I consider it to be their best. Opening cut then from Teenage Licks, the 1971 album by Stone the Crows. This is their third album. Big Jim Salter, a rousing, powerful intro. The keyboards mixing effortlessly with Les Harvey's guitar, and then there's Maggie's Glaswegian power vocal set in the studio light. The midsection with some nice fuzzy Hammond organ. Think of today's Charlatans, and then a tinge of Yes, and you've got a little taste of what we've got here. Before Maggie's rousing second verse, the bass drives the track into a jam with Harvey's lead guitar smouldering ruthlessly to the outro. So, Big Jim Salter. Well, lyrically, it's a tale told by Maggie, of course, about her man, who's a singer. He's got magnetism on stage, and he grabs hold of the young woman's heart. But then his possessiveness, his selfishness, and his violence take over, and her attempts to flee back home are reflected in the song. Track 2's Faces, much slower paced with organ intro. It's a rock blues ballad, really. Piano highlights Maggie's soulful bleeding vocal and tasteful lead licks. It develops into an American countrified blues, straight out of Glasgow, of course, with rasping harmonies and some more great lead work from Les, ably supported by the keyboards. Faces, well, the lyrics really about obsession with the memory of a first love, and how the emotions are far too much. It's clearly over, reasons unbeknown, but it's sufficiently dominant that new faces tend to be ignored. Track 3 is a favourite of mine. I remember seeing him do this one live, Mr. Wizard. It's a real slow burner, this one. Les's delicate lead with spiralling keyboards builds up to a punchy, funky beat as Maggie's vocals creep into the sound to join the party. There's some jabbing horns to ratchet up the punchy rhythm, and the sleazy keyboards touches are welcomed, and you can smell the bar and smile as the wah-wah enters to add class. It's awesome. Maggie screams into the mic, creating a mystic venom, and then it's in the groove as it smashes its way to the finish. Third track, lyrics, Mr. Wizard. This was co-written by David Allen, who had some time with the Soft Machine and also his own band Gong. He was a bit of a crazy sort of magician type person. Maybe he inspired this title, which is a sort of a look at magical incantations and strange happenings with the stars. I can't really make head nor tail of it, but I think it's got something to do with dealing with fear. Track 4 then, Don't Think Twice, a slow blues rendition of this Dylan song. It does justice to him, it has to be said, as Maggie shows her repertoire of vocal styles. This is a pure blues, and Harvey adds his two penneth. I like the simple piano feel and the solid bass chords, and it's got a gospel harmony feel to boot. The guitar is a perfect foil for Maggie's impassioned vocals. Don't Think Twice is the next track, track 4, and the lyrics for this are obviously written by Bob Dylan, so it's a cover version. And when I had a little look on the internet for meaning here, it would probably take me an hour. So I'm going to go with the simplest explanation. You're in love with a girl, but something's missing, something's not working, and you decide to end it and move on, even though your heart is still tugging, wanting it to work. And I think that's probably what it's all about giving but not getting the same in reply. And this sums up so many relationships. Keep On Rolling, track 5, is an up-tempo rocker. It's standard punchy rock really, less impactful, but has a neat keyboard solo. Lyrics for Keep On Rolling, well, it's an on-the-road song really, about pushing forward, not looking back, not trying to get too distressed or sad about what you left behind, taking each day as it comes, because it's bittersweet, and basically a reflection on being in a rock band, I guess, and doing the gigs. Track 6 is 158. It's psychedelic stuff really that starts this off with atmosphere and shimmering feedback as the crunching rhythm guitar hits a classic rock blues beat, with keyboards and guitars complementing Maggie's raucous vocals. It's got a heavy edge to it, but still very bluesy. 6 minutes or so with Harvey guitar, which hits your ears 4 minutes in, very fluid, and it steams to the finish jam-like. It's a terrific power rock song, and it's a song about the morning after a night of alcohol, possibly a little bit of dope, and how the memory recall is somewhat suspect. Segues into I May Be Right or I May Be Wrong, which is a barroom blues really, with some striking piano rhythms, solid sort of stuff, and lots of lead solos that blossom behind Maggie's powerhouse vocals. It's got a real live feel to it, really rebel-rousing stuff, and you can imagine yourself tapping your feet with a cigarette and a beer in each hand. Terrific stuff. And it's a song about owning your actions really, whether they're right or wrong, and not getting weighed down by other views. To the last track then, Seven Lakes. A piano ballad really, with some nice little acoustic guitar, and the mix of the two creates a nice sort of choral touch. It's got some brief vocals that are less than significant, and the piano develops into sort of a mix of boogie with sort of jazz elements. creating almost a symphonic style mood. So in summary, Teenage Licks 1971, this was by far the pinnacle of their recording career, and it certainly still holds well all these years later, nearly 50 years on. Of course, the tragic death of Les Harvey at a gig in Swansea where he got electrocuted by the mic stand and his guitar. It was a tragedy that the group could never recover from, even though they continued briefly with Jimmy McCulloch stepping in for Les. But as I say, I saw this band live. They were as good as this review shapes up, and I'm really proud to say I've seen the Stone the Crows band.